Hi, I'm Shannon with Itsy Bitsy Book Bits, and here's what readers are saying about War of Destiny 4 Fallen Soul by Theresa Van Spankeren. 5 stars. I loved this story. Fantastic. This is book 4 in the War of Destiny series, and while I believe that this book could be read as a standalone, I very highly recommend reading this series in order overall. You will not be disappointed. Lane Marlowe is a loner, trying to stay safe, and has been on the run for a very long time, especially trying to hide from King of the Vampires, Valentino. When Lane meets by chance a female vampire who is totally different than what Lane is used to, does Lane believe he finally found someone that may be in the same corner as Lane? Will Valentino and his fellow council find Lane after being on the run for so long? This story is great. Danger, action, vampires, and battle of good and evil. I so recommend this book and series, and I'm hoping for more to come. That review came from Lorelei Horner on Goodreads. Here is what Mandy had to say on Goodreads. Fallen Soul is the 4th book in the War of Destiny series, and it is just as fast paced, full of surprises, and entertaining as the first 3 books. This book is shorter than the other books of the series, but still packs the same punch. Theresa Van Spankeren does an amazing job creating not only the world of the time period, but also the world of the vampires. I loved this book and its deviation from the perspective of the original characters, while also including them in the story. Much more information is learned about the vampires and some of the abilities that a select few of their kind possess. Valentino is still as evil as ever, and focusing his effort on not only hunting the members of Samuel and Julia's quartet, but also hunting the rogue Lane Marlowe, whom he believes to be a threat based on his unusual powers. Overall, Theresa Van Spankeren delivers more great characters and wonderful world building that I've come to associate with her writing. This one comes from Brandy Reimer on BookBub. Theresa Van Spankeren outdid herself on this one, adding a new character, Lane, to our cast of characters that we've grown to love and seek retribution for. Fallen Soul, book number 4 in the War of Destiny series, will not disappoint in one bit. This book follows Lane as he is on the run from Valentino's minions on a quest to get home safely. He runs into a group of vampires who seem to live very differently than anything he's ever known. Will the beloved group we've been following since book number 1 be the answer to Lane's problems, or will they be another obstacle in his path? Lane questions whether they be friends or foes. Will he be able to trust this odd group of vampires, or will they cause him trouble as Valentino has? You will not want to miss this next book in the Paranormal War of Destiny series. Trust me, you'll want to have all 5 books ready to read one after the other, like I did. The waiting would be too much for anyone to bear. You will not regret this decision one bit. Here's one from Jessica Blair on Amazon. If you like vampires, this book is definitely for you. This book follows Lane as he struggles with life as a vampire. He does not want to hurt humans, so he tries not to feed on them as he does not know how to do so without killing them. Though when he does feed on humans, he targets the lowest of the low so he doesn't feel as bad. Eventually, Lane learns that he can feed on other vampires. This does not sit well with Valentino. If all of vampire kind were the mobs, Valentino would be Al Capone. So, of course, this makes a lot of enemies for Lane. Not only does he have to constantly evade Valentino's vampires who come after him, he also has to avoid vampire hunters. Though most of the hunters tend to leave him be since he feeds on other vampires. Along the way, Lane meets Julia, another vampire, but she is not afraid of Lane, nor does she want to hurt him. Will Lane and Julia form a connection? Will Lane ever get to live in peace free of Valentino's wrath? I think I plan to read the other books in this series. This is book 4, though I was able to read this just fine on its own. Our last review today comes from Michael Mahoney on Amazon. This book was an absolute ride from start to finish. Lane is such a fascinating character to follow, especially because of how layered he is. On one hand, he is feared, hunted, and shunned, but on the other, he longs for something as simple and human as home. That blend of danger and vulnerability made him a character I could not stop reading about. His decades on the run gave the story this relentless energy, and every encounter felt like it could be his last. The tension really built as Valentino's council closed in, and I loved how the battles were written. They were gritty and intense without losing sight of Lane's internal struggles. What surprised me most, though, was how much heart the story had when Lane stumbled across vampires who were completely unlike the monsters he had known. Seeing them live alongside humans added such an intriguing twist, and it raised the question of whether they would become allies or simply another threat. The pacing was strong, the world building had depth, and Lane's journey was both brutal and emotional. I found myself invested not just in whether he would survive, but whether he could actually trust anyone again. By the end, I was left excited to see what direction his story will take next. This is a must read for anyone who loves dark, gripping vampire tales with real emotional stakes. Thank you so much for tuning in to hear what readers are saying about War of Destiny 4 Fallen Soul by Theresa Van Spankeren. See you next time.